Chad, the rich kid, held up a diamond ring and mocked me for being a penniless suck-up. Just as the whole school waited to see the spectacle, the aloof school beauty Madison suddenly knocked Chad's ring out of his hand, her eyes reddening as she clung to me tightly. Cole, even if you go bankrupt, I'll take care of you. Please don't ignore me. The entire crowd fell silent. But I was staring at the $100 million that had just been deposited into my phone, overcome with ecstasy. Welcome to Windfall, Lord. An exciting story is about to begin. I swear, blowing the $10,000 I've saved up over my whole life, working from dawn till dusk washing dishes and mowing lawns, on an ice queen campus beauty who can't even remember my full name is definitely the craziest gamble I've ever made. If that damn voice in my head is just a hallucination, I'll have to go out onto the streets of New York tonight and fight homeless people for cardboard boxes. Jesus, Cole, are you out of your mind? This is the Bulgari Boutique on 5th Avenue, not the Taco Bell down the street from your place. My best friend Marcus was gripping my hoodie tightly, shouting frantically into my ear in a hushed voice, his dreadlocks practically soaked through with cold sweat. I ignored him, took a deep breath, and looked through the bright glass of the display case, fixing my gaze on a man and a woman standing not far away. That's Madison Avery. She was the undisputed ice queen of our Ivy League school and the apple of her old money New York family's eye. Today, she was wearing a minimalist cut trench coat, and even as she stood there expressionless, she exuded an air of arrogance that seemed to say, "You're not worthy of breathing the same air as me." At that moment, her beautiful, cold eyes were fixed on a ruby necklace behind the counter. Standing next to her, fawning over her like crazy, was Chad Harrington, the captain of our school's sailing team, a self-important, spoiled rich kid. Madison, listen to me, this design is way too tacky. It doesn't do justice to your elegant charm. Chad was flashing what he thought was a charming smile, trying to sweet-talk her like crazy with that sickening American accent. I let out a scoff. Screw his pretentiousness. That jerk just thinks it's too expensive. That necklace was priced at exactly $10,000, and for a spoiled rich kid like Chad who relies on his parents for living expenses, shelling out $10,000 to impress a girl would definitely make him wince. Just 3 minutes ago, as I stood outside the store window looking at Madison, an emotionless, mechanical voice suddenly rang out in my head. The goddess Cashback System has been activated. Current Soul Link target: Madison Avery. Rules: for every penny the host spends on the target, they will receive an immediate cash refund of 100 times that amount. Warning: do not disclose the existence of this system to anyone in any form. 100 times. That means if I spend the only $10,000 I have on me, I'll instantly have $1 million, and that's $1 million in cold, hard cash. Sorry, let me through. I shook off Marcus's hand and walked straight toward Madison and Chad. When Chad saw me, he froze for a moment, then burst into an exaggerated laugh. Hey, isn't this Cole, the notorious broke kid from our school? What? Did Bulgari hand out free bread today? How dare you even set foot in here? Madison furrowed her brow slightly and didn't even bother to glance at me. She tilted her delicate chin up slightly, as if my presence were polluting the air here. Shut up, Chad. Without even glancing at that clown, I walked straight up to the counter, tapped my finger firmly on the bulletproof glass covering the ruby necklace, and said to the sales clerk, who was staring at me in shock, "I'll take this necklace. Wrap it up." At that moment, the air seemed to stand still. Ha! Chad burst out laughing so hard tears nearly streamed down his face. Cole, are you high or something? $10,000. You wouldn't even be worth that much if they sold you on the black market for a kidney, if you can actually afford that. I'll eat the glass from this counter right here today. Marcus stood behind me, covering his face in despair, as if he could already picture me being thrown out by security like a piece of trash. Madison finally turned her head and gave me a cold stare, as if I were a lunatic. Her lips moved slightly as she uttered a few merciless words. A boring clown's act. Cole, do you really think you can get my attention with this kind of attention-seeking stunt? How pathetic. She saw me as a completely obsessed, ultimate suck-up. I didn't argue. I just silently pulled the debit card, its edges worn almost smooth, out of the pocket of my faded jeans and slapped it down on the counter. Charge it. The pin is 6 zeros. With a mocking expression that seemed to say, "Let's see how you handle this." The sales clerk picked up the card and swiped it through the POS machine. Beep. Transaction successful. When that crisp electronic chime rang out, the entire Bulgari counter fell into a deathly silence. Chad's laughter stopped abruptly. His mouth gaped wide enough to fit a baseball, and his eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. The sales clerk's hand jerked suddenly, and she nearly dropped the expensive necklace on the floor. She stared in disbelief at the long receipt spitting out of the POS machine, her expression instantly shifting from mockery to extreme deference. "Sir, your purchase has been completed. Would you like me to put it on for you? Or should I wrap it up?" I wasn't looking at anyone, because just as the transaction went through, my phone started vibrating in my pocket. I swallowed hard. pulled out my phone with sweaty palms, and opened the text message from my bank. Dear Mr. Cole Walker, $1 million has just been transferred into your account from another bank. Current balance, $1 million. Oh my God! I swear my heart skipped 2 whole beats right then and there. A wave of intense elation surged through me, and I almost couldn't resist pounding my chest and stamping my feet like a gorilla right there on 5th Avenue. 1 million! A 100x cashback. It's actually true. The system really didn't let me down. Cole, are you out of your mind? A hint of surprise and a crack in her usual icy composure finally appeared on Madison's face. She looked at the exquisite gift box the sales clerk was respectfully handing her, then glanced at my cheap outfit. Her eyes filled with bewilderment. Everyone at school knows I'm a broke kid who has to work 3 jobs just to pay my tuition. And now, I've just blown $10,000 on her without batting an eye. In everyone's eyes, I must have robbed a bank or sold my soul to win her over. I'm literally the ultimate lapdog. I suppressed the urge to burst out laughing and tried my best to keep a cold, ruthless expression on my face. I casually took the gift box containing the $10,000 necklace and tossed it into Madison's arms as if I were tossing a bag of cheap potato chips. Here, take it. I looked into her stunned eyes and let a carefree smile play at the corners of my mouth. Don't get the wrong idea, Madison. I just felt sorry for it. You'd been staring at it for so long, and no one had bought it for you. After saying that, I paid no attention to Madison's suddenly dazed expression or Chad's face, which had turned the color of a pig's liver. I turned around, threw my arm around Marcus's neck, who was still questioning the meaning of life, and strode out of the boutique. Are you kidding me? All I can think about right now is how to turn this million into 100 million. Who the hell has time to play these teenage campus romance games with you guys? Madison, are you ready for an unprecedented storm of wealth? You are my, Cole Walker's, most powerful ATM on the road to becoming the richest person in the world. Buddy, look me in the eye and tell me, did you just rob a Wall Street armored truck in that alley back there? Or did you sell the other half of your liver on the black market? Standing on the bustling street of 5th Avenue, Marcus gripped my collar tightly, his eyes bulging like 2 freshly boiled eggs. No wonder he was going crazy, just 5 minutes earlier. I'd been complaining to him that this week's part-time pay might not be enough to buy 2 dozen Budweiser beers. And in the blink of an eye, I'd spent $10,000 on a necklace without batting an eye. Relax, Marcus. This is just the beginning. I've just discovered a road to becoming the richest person in the world. I patted him on the shoulder, already thinking about how to make my newly acquired $1 million grow even more through compound interest. Just then, the crisp, rapid click-clack of high heels sounded from behind him. Cole, stop right there. I turned my head and saw Madison coming after me in her stilettos. She was clutching the Bulgari box tightly in her hand. Her chest rose and fell slightly, and her usually impassive, stunning face was now etched with anger and a deeply complex mix of emotions. Chad, like a persistent shadow, was following close behind her, panting heavily. Take this back. Madison shoved the box into my arms, her tone as cold as a Siberian cold snap. I don't know where you borrowed money from at exorbitant interest rates, and I don't care if you went and did something stupid. Cole, I'm warning you, don't even think about trying to move me with this cheap act of self-sacrifice. It just makes me think you're crazy. She held her chin high, as if looking at a hopeless gambler. In her eyes, I, a poor kid who ate the cheapest hot dogs in the cafeteria every day, would surely have spent every last penny and even risked my life just to get her attention. Moved you? I couldn't help but laugh. I looked at her flawlessly exquisite face, as if I were looking at a super ATM that radiated a dazzling golden glow. What are you laughing at? Madison's frown deepened. I'm laughing because you talk too much. I shoved the Bulgari box back into her hands, then, completely ignoring her stunned expression, grabbed her wrist. Come on, let's go somewhere. Let go, Cole. What are you doing? Madison cried out. You damn pauper. Get your filthy hands off Madison, Chad yelled from behind. I completely ignored Chad's impotent rage, grabbed Madison, turned on my heel, and kicked open the heavy glass door of the Hermes flagship store next door. The elegant scent of leather wafted toward me as I entered the store. 2 well-dressed sales clerks, upon seeing my bleached hoodie, were just about to escort me out with polite, forced smiles when I slammed my credit card down on the display case closest to me. Which are the most expensive women's handbags in your store? Don't beat around the bush, bring them all out, I said loudly. The entire Hermes store fell silent in an instant. Madison yanked her hand away from mine and stared at me in disbelief. Cole, you're out of your mind. Even the cheapest bag here costs $2 or $3 $10,000. Don't you have enough debt already? Shut up. Your job right now is to just stand here like a clothes hanger. I waved my hand impatiently. The sales associates exchanged glances, but their professional demeanor prompted them to carefully present several of the store's prized items. A platinum handbag made of Himalayan crocodile leather, and 2 limited edition Kelly bags. Is that all? I furrowed my brow and pointed at Madison. The latest trench coats over there, one of each color and her size. And those diamond-encrusted watches over there, just pick out 2. Ring me up. Cole. Stop it. Madison was truly panicking this time. Her eyes, which had once been as cold as ice, were now red-rimmed. She gripped my arm tightly, her voice even taking on a pleading tone. You don't need to go this far for me. You're going to ruin yourself. Do you really think that by throwing yourself at me like this, I'll fall in love with you? You're being too desperate. She had clearly imagined a tragic, romantic drama in which a poor boy would sacrifice his entire life for the aloof school beauty. She thought I was expressing my love for her in this crazy, even masochistic way. But who has time to deal with her teenage drama right now? My eyes were glued to the POS machine. Sir, that comes to a total of $400,000. The cashier's voice was trembling. I'll pay by card, I said without hesitation. Beep, transaction successful. A pleasant sound rang out. Immediately afterward, my phone started vibrating like crazy in my pocket. I pulled it out, covered the screen with my hand, and glanced at it quickly. $40 million has been deposited into your account. Current balance, $40. 6 million. 40 million. In just a few short minutes, I went from being penniless to a millionaire. Seeing that long string of zeros made my blood boil. I was so thrilled I almost broke into a Michael Jackson moonwalk right there in the Hermes store. Chad stood at the store entrance, watching as the sales clerks respectfully handed Madison 7 or 8 huge orange shopping bags. His face had completely drained of color, as if he had seen a ghost. This can't be. This is absolutely impossible. That's a fake credit card, Chad muttered unconsciously, his worldview shattered. I slipped my phone back into my pocket with a sense of satisfaction and turned to look at Madison. She was staring blankly at the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of luxury goods piled at her feet. Her eyes slightly reddened. The look in her eyes as she gazed at me held a little less arrogance, and a touch more of an indescribable mix of shock and complexity. Are you moved? I leaned in close to her and asked in a low voice. Madison bit her lower lip and shifted her gaze, seemingly finally moved by my tenderness, and was just about to say something. Hold that stuff tight, don't get it dirty. I immediately sat up straight, patted her on the shoulder, and interrupted her spellcasting. I'm hungry. Marcus, come on, let's go to the Burger King on the corner. It's on me today, and you're allowed to add 2 extra slices of cheese. After saying that, I shoved my hands in my pockets, whistled, and strutted out of the store, leaving Madison standing alone amid that pile of Hermes items, staring intently at my back with a look of bewilderment that was almost as if she'd lost her composure. Hey, this money-making game is getting more and more interesting. Early the next morning, the Ivy League University campus forum was in an absolute uproar. The homepage is filled with photos of me going on a shopping spree on 5th Avenue yesterday. In the photos, I'm wearing that worn-out gray hoodie with one hand in my pocket, while Madison, the aloof school beauty who usually looks down on everyone and won't even give a guy a second glance, is actually walking behind me like a flustered sidekick, carrying 7 or 8 Hermes shopping bags. The headline is especially eye-catching. The final desperate dash of the ultimate sucker? Poor kid Cole splurges $400,000 just to win a beauty's smile. As I walked down the tree-lined path toward the economics classroom, the way people looked at me had completely changed. Before, they looked at me as if I were a poor, invisible nobody. Now, they looked at me as if I were a madman about to jump off a building. Cole, tell me the truth. Did you steal those vintage first editions from the school library to sell them? Marcus scrolled through his phone while giving me a look that said, Dude, you might as well turn yourself in. Now the whole school thinks you're running some illegal dark web operation. That bastard Chad even said on Twitter that you're going to be shredded and fed to the alligators next month because you can't pay back your loan shark debt. I yawned, felt the bank card in my pocket, the one loaded with $41 million, and let out a cold laugh. Let him bark all he wants. Today, I'm going to shut that mad dog up for good. Just as I reached the plaza in front of the academic building, the crowd suddenly stirred. The extremely loud roar of an engine shattered the campus's tranquility. A brand new, fiery red Ferrari F8, like a roaring beast, executed a sleek drift and came to a smooth stop at the bottom of the steps in front of the classroom building. The doors swung open like scissors, and Chad, dressed in an expensive custom-tailored suit and wearing sunglasses, stepped out of the car with a swagger. His appearance immediately set off a wave of screams from the girls around him. Chad looked around smugly, his gaze finally sweeping past the crowd and locking firmly on Madison, who was just walking toward him from the other side. Today, Madison wore a simple pair of slim-fit jeans and a white silk blouse. Even though she wasn't carrying the Hermes bag I bought yesterday, she was still so beautiful that I couldn't take my eyes off her. Madison, Chad shouted, striding forward and completely ignoring me as I stood nearby, striking a pose he thought was romantic. Do you like my new toy? This Ferrari was a birthday gift from my dad. It's worth $300,000. He deliberately emphasized the words $300,000, then shot me a defiant glance and said loudly, unlike certain people who take out high-interest loans to buy handbags just to look rich. Madison, I have an important party tonight. Would you like to ride shotgun with me? Only the very finest sports cars are worthy of you. A wave of jeers erupted around us. Madison furrowed her brow slightly. Without even glancing at the Ferrari, her icy gaze instead drifted involuntarily in my direction. I rubbed my chin. A $300,000 Ferrari? What a cheapskate. System. If I buy a car here as a gift for Madison, does that count as spending on her behalf? I thought to myself. As long as the ultimate owner and beneficiary of the property are the target individuals, it meets the cashback rules. The system's cold. Mechanical voice replied immediately. Perfect. I pushed my way through the crowd and walked straight up to the red Ferrari. When Chad saw me coming, he immediately stepped in front of the car, looking wary. Cole, stay away from my car. A broke ass like you couldn't even afford to pay for a single chip in the paint. Can't afford to pay for the damage? I chuckled softly, walked right past him toward the group of students watching the commotion, and asked loudly, does anyone have the phone number for the top car dealership around here? A heavy-set man wearing gold-rimmed glasses hesitated for a moment, then timidly raised his hand. I work part-time at the supercar club, and I have the manager's phone number. Great. I grabbed his phone and dialed the number. With hundreds of people in the room staring at me as if I were crazy, I put the phone on speaker. Hello? Is this the manager of the supercar club? This is Cole Walker. I raised my voice on purpose. Mr. Walker? I'm sorry, but I don't think I know you. The voice on the other end of the line sounded a little puzzled. It's okay if you don't know. What's the most expensive and rarest car you have in stock right now? I asked lazily. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line, as if the person were looking something up. Our top-of-the-line model right now is a limited edition Lamborghini Veneno convertible. However, sir, the price of this car is quite... How much? I cut him off. For $4.5 million. The manager swallowed hard. Instantly, the area fell deathly silent, with only the rustling of leaves in the wind. The smug smile on Chad's face froze, making him look like a ridiculous clown. Only $4.5 million? I pursed my lips in feigned displeasure. Fine, I guess that'll do. Drive the car to the plaza in front of the Ivy League University's academic building within 20 minutes. List the owner as Madison Avery. Full payment. I'll transfer the money to your business account right now. After hanging up the phone, I pulled out my cell phone under the stunned gaze of everyone in the room and calmly tapped the screen a few times. In less than a minute, a ding sounded, and the electronic receipt confirming the successful transfer appeared clearly on my screen. This can't be. Chad rushed over like a madman, staring intently at my phone screen, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. Where did you get $5 million? You're definitely scamming me. I completely ignored him, because I heard that vibration, the one that made my soul tremble, coming from my cell phone in my pocket. $450 million has been deposited into your account. Current balance, $491 million. $490 million. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The thrill of seeing that number skyrocket like that was even more addictive than doing the purest drug in the world. 15 minutes later, when a matte black Lamborghini Venom, with a design so outlandish it looked like an alien warship, roared into the plaza with a deafening, deep rumble, the entire school went absolutely wild. The Ferrari, which had seemed so invincible just moments before, looked like nothing more than a cheap plastic toy next to this $4.5 million supercar. The dealership manager stepped out of the car with great deference and respectfully handed a diamond-encrusted carbon fiber car key to Madison, who was still in a daze. Miss Avery, this is a gift that Mr. Walker purchased for you in full. Please sign for it. Madison stared blankly at the key, then turned to look at me. Her face, which was usually haughty and cold, was now filled with disbelief, shock, and even a hint of panic. Cole, what on earth? Her voice was trembling. You don't have a driver's license, do you? I walked up to her, snatched the priceless car keys right out of her hand, and waved them in front of her face. Madison nodded blankly. She had absolutely no idea what I was up to. Great, I said with a slight smile, casually tossing the keys to Marcus, who was standing there dumbfounded. Marcus, this car can just sit in your garage and gather dust for now. With that, I turned and walked toward the classroom. Under Chad's gaze, so filled with jealousy he looked like he was about to spit blood, and Madison's utterly bewildered expression. Class is about to start, and I really don't want to lose credits for being late. You know, retake fees are really expensive. After the Lamborghini Venom incident, I became a household name at Ivy League universities. Every day as I walked down the street, I could feel eyes on me from all directions, some filled with jealousy, some with suspicion, and even those wealthy young ladies who had never given me a second glance before now looked at me as if I were a gleaming gold brick. But I couldn't care less about any of that. Right now, my sole focus is on how to maximize the efficiency of Madison, this human ATM. After all, $490 million sounds like a lot, but compared to the blueprint for that vast business empire in my mind, it's nowhere near enough. Cole, what on earth have you been up to lately? On Friday afternoon, Marcus slammed a thick stack of flyers down on my desk. The flyers featured a picture of an extremely luxurious superyacht, accompanied by a sensational headline: "This weekend, the yacht party of the century, celebrating a special occasion." As you can see, throwing a party. Without looking up, I was checking office rental rates in Manhattan's prime locations on my computer. "Throw a party? Are you out of your mind?" Marcus whispered, pointing to the small print in the lower right corner of the flyer. "That's the Ocean Star, registered in New York Harbor. It costs $2 million just to rent it for a day, not to mention you'd have to hire a team of Michelin 3-star chefs, top-tier DJs, and provide unlimited supplies of Ace of Spades champagne. You couldn't pull that off even if you robbed the Federal Reserve." "Don't worry, Marcus, I know what I'm doing." I patted him on the shoulder. "Of course I know my limits. Because this yacht isn't rented, I bought it outright for $12 million US. I racked my brain trying to figure out how to spend this money. The system stipulates that the cashback is only available for purchases made for Madison. Transfer the money directly to her? No way, she'd definitely turn me down like I was crazy. Buy her a house? That's way too obvious. This aloof campus beauty is extremely wary. Finally, I came up with this brilliant idea. To throw an extravagant yacht party to celebrate her 20th birthday this weekend. I put the yacht and all the party expenses in Madison's name. The outcome, of course, goes without saying. After I paid the full amount of $12 million US. The intense vibration from my phone in my pocket made me so happy I almost did 2 backflips right there in my dorm room. 2 billion. A full 2 billion US dollars in cash. With my current net worth, I'm now rich enough to have those suit anti-investment managers on Wall Street lacing my shoes. Saturday evening, New York Harbor. The Ocean Star resembled a floating palace, quietly moored at the dock. The deck was aglow with lights, and top-of-the-line sound equipment blared rhythmic electronic music. Nearly every prominent figure at the school, and even some of New York's slightly famous socialites, were scrambling to get their hands on an invitation. Madison stood at the edge of the deck. Tonight she was wearing a dark green backless evening gown that perfectly accentuated her breathtaking figure. As the sea breeze blew, she looked like a fairy queen stepping out of the dark night. Countless boys around her were staring at her, but no one dared to approach her, because tonight, everyone was whispering among themselves, speculating about who on earth I was. "Cole, who are you, anyway?" Madison turned around and looked at me as I walked toward her in casual clothes, holding a glass of regular Coke. Her expression was complex, no longer the aloof coldness she'd shown before, but instead filled with curiosity, confusion, and even a hint of barely perceptible panic. "Me? I'm just an ordinary college student." I shrugged, casually picking up a macaron from the buffet table next to me and popping it into my mouth. "It tastes pretty good. Looks like those French chefs didn't take my money for nothing. Would an ordinary college student really spend over $10 million to buy a superyacht just to throw me a birthday party?" Madison stared intently into my eyes, as if trying to see right through my soul. Not even my father, the head of the Sterling family, would squander money so carelessly. "What exactly are you up to? Purpose?" I paused for a moment. What possible purpose could I have? "I can't exactly tell you that I'm spending money on you just because I'll get 100 times the cash back. That would make you look like nothing more than an NPC designed to generate money in my eyes." "Right." I coughed twice, forcing myself to look serious, and gazed out at the Manhattan skyline in the distance. "Madison, there are some things you don't need to know in too much detail. You just need to enjoy tonight and enjoy this gift. After all, you deserve the best." These meaningless quotes from a jerk make even me want to throw up when I hear them. However, to my surprise, after hearing those words, a rare blush actually flushed across Madison's usually icy face. She lowered her head, unconsciously twisting her fingers together, her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Are you doing this to win me over? Cater to you? Good grief. I'm just catering to my bank account." But I couldn't let on. I turned my head and looked into her eyes, which were glistening with a strange light under the lamp, and my heart suddenly skipped a beat. Could this little girl actually be moved? "Think whatever you want," I said, deciding to wrap up this dangerous topic as quickly as possible. "I need to go check if that idiot Marcus has drunk all the champagne. Happy birthday, Madison." I turned to leave, but the next second, a soft, cool hand grabbed the hem of my shirt. I turned around and looked at Madison in astonishment. She was biting her lower lip tightly, and her eyes revealed a hint of unprecedented stubbornness and tenderness. "Cole," her voice trembled slightly, yet it was remarkably firm. If you really care about me, then, could you give me a hug?" Holy crap! I was completely stunned. Standing frozen in place, the ice queen of Ivy League universities, the goddess countless wealthy young men dream of getting close to, was now asking me to hold her? This script is all wrong. I just wanted to quietly farm some money. I had no intention of getting involved in a campus romance subplot. As I looked into her eyes, full of expectation, a cold sweat instantly broke out on my forehead, just as I was caught between a rock and a hard place. Unsure of how to wrap things up, an extremely grating voice broke the delicate atmosphere. "Hey, Looks like our poor little guy has finally won over the heart of the school's ice queen. I turned my head. And there was Chad, accompanied by a few henchmen, walking toward me with a glass in his hand and a sullen expression on his face. He looked at me, his eyes filled with malice and jealousy. But, Cole, you can't keep a secret forever. Sooner or later, that illegal money of yours will land you in jail, Chad sneered, deliberately raising his voice so that everyone around him could hear. I let out a sigh of relief. For the first time, I felt that Chad, that bastard, had arrived just in time. I shook off Madison's hand, turned to face Chad, and let a cold, dead man's smile curl at the corners of my mouth. Chad, do you think getting beaten isn't harsh enough? Chad's sudden appearance abruptly cut short the dangerous, flirtatious tension between Madison and me. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief, slipped my hands back into my pockets, and stared coldly at this rich kid standing before me, who looked like nothing more than a clown. Illegal money? I raised an eyebrow. Chad, slander without evidence could land you a cease and desist letter. Or is it that your pitiful perspective leads you to assume that other people's legally acquired wealth must be the product of crime? Don't play dumb, Chad said furiously, pointing his finger right at my nose. A month ago, you were still washing dishes in the cafeteria kitchen, and now you're buying yachts and supercars? You dare say that money is clean? My dad has already had his lawyer look into your background. Cole, you'll be exposed for who you really are very soon. The guests around them cast curious glances their way, and whispers spread across the deck. After all, the story of a poor kid from the lower classes suddenly striking it rich was bound to spark speculation. As I looked at Chad's contorted face, I felt nothing, not even a flicker of emotion, and I almost laughed. Investigate my background? All of the system's assets are protected by top-tier offshore trusts and multiple layers of encryption through Swiss banks. Not even his father's lawyer, let alone the FBI, would find anything other than flawless, legitimate inheritance documents. Just as I was about to shoot back at that idiot with a few lines of American humor, Madison, who had been standing behind me the whole time, suddenly stepped forward and stood in front of me. That's enough, Chad. Madison's voice had returned to its usual icy tone, tinged with a hint of warning. This is my birthday party, and Cole is my guest of honor. If you're here to cause trouble, I'd like you to get off this ship right now. The entire audience gasped. Everyone's eyes widened. Madison Avery, the ice queen of the school, was actually publicly rebuking the playboy son of the Sterling family, a family that had been friends with hers for generations, all for the sake of a man? Chad's face instantly turned the color of liver. He stared at Madison in disbelief. Madison, have you lost your mind? Are you sticking up for this penniless nobody from who knows where? I'm the one who's a suitable match for you. A match made in heaven? Madison snorted derisively, her eyes brimming with contempt. Chad, what do you have besides your father's name? That $300,000 Ferrari of yours? Don't make a fool of yourself here. Those words hit Chad like a resounding slap across the face. He glared at Madison and me, trembling with rage, and finally slammed the champagne glass he was holding down on the deck with a sharp clang. Fine. Just fine. Cole, you just wait. See you at our charity dinner next week. I'll see just how long that dirty money of yours will last. Chad spat out a threat, then slunk out of the crowd with his gang of henchmen, who all looked just as glum as he did. The farce came to an end, and the crowd gradually dispersed. But I felt a chill run down my spine, because Madison turned around and looked at me with an incredibly complex expression. That look no longer held the arrogance of before, nor the assertiveness she'd shown just moments ago when she'd snapped at Chad. Instead, it was filled with something I found utterly unfamiliar: tenderness. Cole, thank you, she said softly, standing less than half a meter away from me. I could even smell the scent of her expensive Dior perfume. What are you thanking me for? I didn't do anything. I took half a step back, trying to put some distance between us. Thank you for arranging all this for me. And thank you for not backing down in front of Chad. Madison lowered her head slightly. Her usually proud neck now took on a vulnerable curve. I know you spent so much money on me, and you may even have taken a huge risk. I misunderstood you before. I thought you were just like everyone else, only interested in my looks and family background. But now I understand. What did she figure out? I screamed inside my head. Seriously, girl, don't go making stuff up in your head. I was really just cashing in my rewards. Madison, listen to me, it's not what you think. I tried to explain, but she cut me off before I could finish. You don't need to explain, Cole. I get it. She looked up, a nearly stubborn gleam in her beautiful eyes. You've been quietly trying to get my attention in this extreme way all along, even if it meant being mocked by the whole school. Even if it meant losing everything you had. You are really foolish. Oh my God! Her eyes are actually red. Ivy League's #1 ice queen is actually about to cry because of me. The god of pure love. I'm not stupid, I really just... Cole, let's give it a try. Boom! Those words exploded like a nuclear bomb in my head. I stared at her in disbelief, wondering if there was something wrong with my ears. What did you say? I stammered. I said, Let's give this a try, Madison said, a faint blush spreading across her cheeks. But she continued to look at me with determination. Since you love me so much and are willing to give up everything for me, I'm willing to give you a chance. It's over. It's all over. As I looked at the stunning, wealthy campus beauty standing before me, who, at that moment, was confessing her feelings to me as if she were a love-struck teenager, I felt not a shred of secret delight, but rather a deep sense of despair. Date? You've got to be kidding. Once we start dating, how am I supposed to keep treating her like a heartless ATM without any qualms? What if she suddenly has a change of heart and won't let me spend money on her anymore? Wouldn't that mean my 100x cashback would dry up? Madison. I took a deep breath and forced a smile that looked even worse than if I'd been crying. Actually, I think it's a little too early for us to be dating right now. You see, I'm still in the startup phase. I'm really busy every day, so I might not have time to spend with you. Madison was stunned. She clearly hadn't expected that a guy who'd spent tens of millions on her, and was widely recognized across the entire school as a total suck-up, would actually reject her when she took the initiative to humble herself and confess her feelings. Are you rejecting me? Her voice began to tremble as she looked at me in disbelief. It's not that I'm turning you down, it's just, I think we need to get to know each other better. Yes, get to know each other. I quickly went along with it. Madison stared intently at me, and the tears welling up in her eyes finally began to spill over. She seemed utterly devastated. And, gritting her teeth, she said, Cole Walker, you were willing to risk your life for me. But now you're too scared to date me? What kind of person are you? Anyway? With that, she spun around abruptly, lifted the hem of her expensive evening gown, and ran off without looking back. Watching her heartbroken figure from behind, I sighed helplessly. Sorry, Madison, you're a great girl, but I'd rather make money than date. The annual Ivy League charity gala was held at the Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan. The venue was packed with celebrities, as many as you'd find at a Thanksgiving parade, and beneath the dazzling crystal chandeliers, the elite were everywhere, sipping champagne and exchanging insincere pleasantries. Madison wore a black off-the-shoulder evening gown today. She looked as elegant as a black swan, but she deliberately avoided me all evening. Every time our eyes met, she would turn her head away with a mix of pride and shyness, leaving me with a cold, distant profile. Man, you really hurt that guy's feelings. Marcus sighed as he chewed on some high-end caviar. But you'd better be careful tonight. That Chad guy's up to no good. I smiled as I held my soda. Chad? I'd actually be disappointed if that bastard didn't come looking for trouble tonight. After all, my wallet's already craving the next storm. Soon, the charity auction began. The auctioneer on stage spoke eloquently, and several ordinary works of art fetched substantial prices. That was until a sapphire mermaid statue, designed by a renowned artist and glowing with a soft blue light, was brought onto the stage. The starting bid for this piece is $500,000. I noticed that Madison's eyes lit up slightly when she saw the statue. $1 million. Before anyone else could speak up, Chad, who was sitting in the front row, couldn't wait to raise his sign. He stood up, turned to look at me defiantly, and shouted, I'm giving this statue to Madison. As for certain keyboard warriors, you'd better just shut up tonight. All eyes in the room instantly turned to me. I let the corners of my mouth curl up slightly and raised the bid card in my hand. $10 million. A collective gasp went through the room. I just raised the price of an item with a starting bid of $500,000 by 20 times. Cole, are you out of your mind? Madison finally couldn't hold back any longer. She turned her head, bit her lip, and mouthed the words to me. She thought I was still making pointless sacrifices just to win her over. Chad's face turned bright red. He felt his dignity had been deeply insulted. $1,500. Cole, if you've got the guts, keep up. I've got my family trust's black card with me today. $50 million. I didn't even look up. My tone was as calm as if I were ordering a $2 cup of coffee. Oh my God! $50 million. The auctioneer nearly dropped his gavel in shock. He has no money. He's a con artist. Chad roared hysterically. Make him pay right now if he's got the guts. If he can't pay, he should be arrested on the spot. As you wish. I stood up and, under the glare of countless cameras, strode onto the stage. I took out that seemingly ordinary debit card once again and gently tapped it on the card reader. Beep. Transaction successful. 50 million U.S. dollars has been credited to your account. When the green light indicating a successful payment appeared on the big screen, a tsunami of gasps erupted from the audience. Just then, my cell phone started vibrating wildly in my pocket. $5 billion has been deposited into your account. Current balance, $5. 091 billion. 5 billion! I was so thrilled I almost burst into song right then and there. Chad was completely stunned. He slumped in his chair like a deflated balloon. Immediately afterward, several security guards in black suits walked over to him. Mr. Harrington, due to your malicious bidding just now, and since we have verified that your family trust account has been frozen, you are suspected of fraud. Please come with us. It turns out that this idiot, just to spite me, embezzled key funds from his father's company that were earmarked for its IPO, which set off a chain reaction that directly led to his family facing bankruptcy and liquidation. Amid the contemptuous stares of the entire audience, Chad was dragged out like a stray dog. As for me, I gently pushed the sapphire statue toward Madison right in front of all the cameras. Here you go, Madison. I smiled slightly and winked at her. I told you, you deserve the best. Madison stared blankly at the statue, and tears finally welled up in her eyes. Meanwhile, all I could think about was that glittering balance of $5 billion, spinning endlessly in my mind. 3 days after the charity dinner incident, the campus forum at Ivy League University was once again rocked by a massive uproar. This time, however, the tide had completely turned. Someone, I don't know who, leaked the news that my extravagant wealth was all the result of illegal money laundering on the dark web. The rumors were so detailed that they even claimed the FBI had launched an investigation, that all my assets had been frozen, and that I was about to lose everything and end up rotting in prison. In the blink of an eye, I went from being a mysterious millionaire who was the talk of the entire school to a lawless outlaw whom everyone tried to avoid. Cole, aren't you worried at all? The whole school is making fun of you right now, calling you the ultimate suck-up who's digging his own grave just to look rich. Marcus walked beside me, looking at the students around us who were pointing and gloating, so flustered he was breaking out in a sweat. What's there to worry about? I asked, leisurely sipping my iced Americano. To be honest, not only was I not worried, but I actually thought these rumors had come at just the right time, because only when others think I'm down on my luck can I more naturally continue my money-making venture. Just 10 minutes ago, I purchased a $100 million private island in the Caribbean through an overseas real estate agent in Madison's name. Now, I'm eagerly awaiting that wonderful sound of the funds being deposited into my account. Just as I reached the school's central plaza, a sudden commotion erupted ahead of me. The crowd formed a large circle. When I looked closely, I saw that in the center of the circle was none other than Chad, who had just been released on bail. He no longer had the air of a wealthy playboy he used to exude. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes were sunken, and he looked like a gambler who had lost everything. Standing in front of him was Madison, her face etched with impatience. Madison, listen to me. Our family is just going through a temporary cash flow problem. I'll be back on my feet in no time. Chad held up a massive diamond ring with both hands, dropped to one knee, and spoke in a voice bordering on madness. That scammer Cole has had all his assets frozen. He's finished. He can't even afford a cup of coffee now. He's just an insecure, penniless sycophant who'd give his life to win your favor. Only I am truly worthy of you. The students around him nodded in agreement, clearly believing the rumors that Cole was about to go bankrupt and end up in jail. Everyone was waiting to see how this farce would play out. Madison looked at Chad, who was kneeling before her, her eyes filled with pity and disgust. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of me standing on the outskirts of the crowd. The very next second, under the gaze of hundreds of pairs of eyes across the entire school, the aloof and unapproachable ice queen of the school did something that left everyone speechless. She stepped forward, didn't even glance at the diamond ring, and with a single wave of her hand, sent the ring in Chad's hand flying to the ground with a smack. That expensive diamond ring rolled quite a distance across the ground before falling into a nearby storm drain. Get lost, Chad, Madison said in a crisp, resolute voice. Right after that, she pushed her way through the crowd in her high heels and rushed straight toward me. Before anyone could even realize what was happening, Madison suddenly threw herself into my arms, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist with such force as if she were afraid I'd vanish the very next second. The entire room instantly fell into a deathly silence. The textbook in Marcus's hand clattered to the floor. Cole, I've heard everything. Madison buried her face in my chest, her voice clearly choked with tears, her eyes red-rimmed. They say you're going bankrupt. That they're going to take you away. You idiot! Why did you do all those stupid things for me? I stood there stiff as a board, holding my hands up, completely at a loss as to where to put them. Sister, how on earth did you figure out that I was going bankrupt? Even if you end up penniless. Even if you have absolutely nothing. I'll never leave you! Madison tilted her head back. Her usually icy, stunning face was now streaked with glistening tears as she declared loudly in front of the entire school. Cole, even if you go bankrupt, I'll take care of you. My family is very wealthy. I can hire the best lawyers for you. Please, don't push me away anymore. Okay? This heartfelt, earth-shattering confession hit like a bombshell, shattering everyone's worldview in the square. Chad slumped to the ground, staring at the scene with eyes wide with fury, completely devastated. The rich kids around him, who had been waiting to see me make a fool of myself, now had expressions of pure jealousy and shock written all over their faces. She was, after all, the Ice Queen, someone even New York's top old money families couldn't hope to date, and now she was actually throwing herself at a poor guy on the verge of bankruptcy, offering to support him? However, even as I felt the warm, soft body in my arms throwing itself at me, I remained expressionless, because right at that moment, my phone began to vibrate violently, like an earthquake, in a way I'd never experienced before. I swallowed hard, pulled my phone out of my pocket, and an extremely eye-catching text message notification popped up on the screen. $10 billion has been deposited into your account. Current balance, $15. 091 billion. Looking at this astronomical figure, enough to buy half of Wall Street, I fought the urge to burst out laughing, lowered my head in resignation, and gazed at the school's most stunning beauty, who was crying her eyes out in my arms, letting out a deep sigh in my heart. Heaven knows, I really just wanted to make some money in peace. Are you serious? Feeling Madison's delicate body trembling slightly in my arms from excitement and worry, and glancing at the staggering 15 billion U.S. dollars balance on my phone screen, I experienced for the first time in my life what magical realism truly means. The several hundred people in the square seemed to have been struck by a spell that froze them in place. Not a single one dared to breathe. Chad slumped to the ground, his mouth gaping wide enough to fit a watermelon, his expression as if he'd just seen God tap dancing. Cole, say something, don't scare me. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Madison thought the blow of bankruptcy had driven me mad. Frantic, tears streamed down her face like beads on a broken string as she cupped my cheeks with both hands. Even if we have to sweep the streets or work at a burger joint, I'll be right there with you. I'm calling my dad right now to have him send over the very best team of lawyers. As she spoke, she frantically pulled her cell phone out of her limited edition handbag. Pfft. I finally couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. I reached out, gently pressed my hand against her wrist as she held her phone, and then wiped away the tears from the corner of her eye with my fingertips. Sweeping the streets? A burger joint? I sighed, my voice tinged with a touch of resignation and affection. Madison, even though you have a vivid imagination, I have to set you straight on one thing. I probably won't ever get the chance to sweep the streets in my entire life. Madison froze, her big, watery blue eyes filled with confusion. What do you mean? But the forum clearly said, rumble, rumble. Before she could finish speaking, a deafening roar suddenly rang out from the sky. Everyone instinctively looked up. There. 3 all-black Augusta AW-109 heavy-lift helicopters, like 3 giant black eagles, tore through the clouds above the campus, creating a violent gust of wind as they hovered precisely over the wide lawn in front of the academic building. The fierce wind sent the students around him reeling this way and that. Chad was even knocked to the ground by the gust and rolled over twice before coming to a stop. The cabin door opened, and a dozen or so Wall Street elites, all dressed in suits and exuding an aura so overwhelming it was almost suffocating, streamed out one after another. Leading the group was the CEO of Goldman Sachs North American Division, a heavyweight who usually only appears on the front pages of financial news. Ignoring the looks of utter horror on everyone's faces, he strode quickly toward me and, under the incredulous stares of a group of Ivy League elite, bowed respectfully to me. Mr. Walker, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. The entire venue fell silent. Even the sound of the wind seemed to come to a standstill at that moment. Is it all taken care of? I asked, with one hand in my pocket, my tone as calm as if I were asking about today's weather. Everything is exactly as you wished. The CEO produced a Golden Boss document, presented it to Madison with both hands, and announced in a resonant voice, Miss Avery, on behalf of Mr. Cole Walker, we completed the acquisition of a 51% controlling stake in the world's largest luxury goods group, the Starlight Consortium, 10 minutes ago. The purchase price, $10 billion U.S. dollars. From this moment on, you are the supreme leader of the Starlight Consortium. Here is your certificate of shareholding. Please sign it. Thud. This time, Marcus's knees buckled, and he fell to his knees on the lawn, his eyes rolling back in his head as he gasped for breath. Chad let out a blood-curdling scream. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he fainted, overcome by utter despair and the collapse of his worldview. As for Madison, the aloof ice queen who always kept others at arm's length, she had now turned completely to stone. She stared blankly at the share certificate worth $10 billion U.S. dollars, her mind completely frozen. $10 billion U.S. dollars? To buy out a multinational conglomerate? Just to give it to her? As for me, I didn't care at all whether the people around me were going crazy, because in my mind, the system's cold yet beautiful voice was playing the greatest symphony in the world. Beep. The host has been detected spending $10 billion on the target purchase. The 100x cashback has been triggered. $1 trillion U.S. dollars has been transferred to your account from another bank. Current balance, $101.5 billion U.S. dollars. 1 trillion. Trillionaire. I took a deep breath of the air scented with fresh grass and felt as if the whole world lay at my feet. From now on, never mind buying up Wall Street, even if I wanted to buy a few small countries to build amusement parks. It would be nothing more than the flick of a finger. Cole, what on earth is going on here? Madison finally snapped out of it. She looked at the group of Wall Street bigwigs, then at me, her voice trembling violently. Weren't you bankrupt? Weren't you? When did I ever say I was broke? I smiled slightly, took a step forward, wrapped one arm around her slender waist, and pulled her into my embrace. I leaned close to her ear and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. I was just testing to see if, when I had nothing left, a certain haughty, ice-cold school beauty would really be willing to take care of me. Madison's face instantly flushed bright red, like a ripe apple. She finally realized that talk of money laundering on the dark web or bankruptcy and prison was nothing but a huge joke in the face of absolute, godlike wealth. The man standing before her wasn't some pathetic sycophant at all. He was a wealth emperor hiding among mortals. You're a liar! She put up a token struggle, but her eyes welled up again, only this time it was from sheer shock and a kind of indescribable sweetness. How much money do you actually have? Enough to last you this lifetime, the next, and the one after that. I looked into her beautiful eyes, and a domineering, carefree smile curled at the corners of my mouth. I looked up at the Ivy League alumni not far away, who had completely lost themselves in madness and adoration, then lowered my head and gently kissed Madison on the forehead. Madison, since you just said in front of the whole school that you take care of me, I'll reluctantly agree to be your boyfriend. But I have one condition. I looked at this exclusive NPC, who was about to open the door to my endless money-making venture, and who would become my future boss, and smiled like a capitalist who just pulled off a coup. What's the condition? She nestled obediently in my arms and tilted her head back to ask. My daily task is to help me spend money like crazy. If I don't spend it all, I pause, my eyes sparkling with a trillion sparks of light. I'll be punished. In New York, where money is everything, my legend has only just begun, and my icy campus queen is destined to stay by my side as we race toward the pinnacle of human wealth. And that's a wrap, folks. If this story gave you that sweet dopamine hit and was more satisfying than peeling the plastic off a brand new TV, do me a massive favor. Obliterate that like button and hit subscribe. I'm locked in the content mine serving up fresh, ridiculously satisfying stories every single day. See you tomorrow for your next fix.